Hello, today I'm going to teach you about how to achieve this very easy glam look, or rather my everyday fancy makeup routine if I'm kind of not feeling it in the winter. I am snowed in right now, or I'm supposed to be. The snow is allegedly coming, so if you, like me, are also caught in the post-Rocky Mountain snow situation, maybe this would be of some interest and comfort to you. Yeah, so I thought I'll just show you what I've been doing. This is like a combination, like what's in my makeup bag slash tutorial slash review video, so hopefully some of this is interesting for you. My qualifications for this are that I used to sell makeup for a living. And so I know a little bit about things, but I'm definitely, as you can see, not a professional or anything. I do just want to kind of show, but I also like remember, oh my gosh, words are hard. I remember like learning about makeup for the first time and feeling like I definitely wasn't somebody who could achieve a makeup look like this one, because I was under the impression that you had to be very skilled. So, and after lots of trial and error, I think I've discovered a little bit more about what I like in my makeup style and how I want my makeup to make me look. And I want to show you that you can achieve like a pretty standard look like this without like a lot of skill or even having like all the newest, most trendy products. A lot of the products that I'm going to use today I've had for years and years, and so I know that I like them. Also, I think it's important to highlight the fact that, you know, makeup will look like makeup on on skin that isn't already perfect or edited with a bunch of filters. And I'm filming in front of natural light, so hopefully this will give you some inspiration and remind you to be like a little bit nicer to yourself, especially when you're comparing your makeup to how other people's makeup looks online. So as we wait for the snow to fall, like what better way can we spend the time that we have together than doing makeup? I'm not really gonna leave the house today. This isn't really like a get ready for anything as such. This is just like my everyday makeup routine this winter and like what it's been like. So here you go. I'm filming this in front of a window, so we are getting the benefit of natural light. And if you're interested, my skin type is dry, but also acne and eczema prone, so it's fun. I have a lot of fun with it. But yeah, as you can see, I do have like texture on my face. I have dryness, like dry patches. I have this very persistent zit that I can't seem to make go away no matter what I do. And yes, I do have a skincare routine and everything, and all that stuff. And I drink water and eat healthy and I wash my face. I don't know what it is about having occasional hormonal acne where people just feel like they should be able to give you like skincare advice, and it's like, why? Yeah, so I'm not soliciting advice, to be clear. Hopefully that doesn't sound mean. I do kind of mean it in a mean way though, because one thing I hate is unsolicited advice, for sure. Also, a lot of skincare advice I find is kind of weirdly prescriptive, so it's definitely not a one size fits all. Anyway, let's get started. I don't really believe in skin prep. I kind of think it's a bit of a scam. I think if you have a decent skincare routine already, you're probably not going to need a separate routine to prep your skin. Whatever you're normally doing will probably suffice. But I do have a couple of things that I have been doing because it has been so dry out. So the first thing is using like some kind of occlusive. This is the La Roche-Posay Cicaplast Balm, but you can use any occlusive product. An occlusive is basically like a moisturizer or cream or balm It's supposed to seal things in at the end of a routine. And the advantage of using an occlusive now in the winter, especially if you have like these dry flakies that makeup tends to like stick to and then make your emphasize the dry patches even more. The advantage of using an occlusive is that it'll kind of eliminate some of that flakiness before you put on your makeup. I wouldn't put a product like Cicaplast all over your face because, especially if you, like me, are like more acne prone, because it will pill and also it might break you out. I would only spot treat the areas of your face that are really dry with the product. But yeah, I've noticed this kind of helps my makeup last a little bit longer when it's so cold and dry out. By the way, I'm doing this right now in anticipation of the great snowstorm that is coming to the south. Where I live right now, we're not getting it, but I'm keeping my like windows open. So far, it's just really cold. Like, I'm not really noticing any snow. I kind of regret not going outside earlier because I woke up and it was snowing a bit, but so far I've yet to see this impressive snowstorm that people are talking about. I'm not a huge fan of this Cicaplast balm, by the way. I think once I finish this, I don't think I'll repurchase it. This used to be such a good product too, but I believe they reformulated it recently and it's just not as like thick as it used to be. Cause I used to be able to do this like every winter and it would really like seal everything in, but lately it's just not been working the same. I keep getting these little pilly bits. If you are getting the little flaky bits, or if like there's excess moisturizer, like you put a little bit too much, you can take any towel and kind of use it to blot off the excess a little bit. And hopefully that will eliminate some of the flakies. Once that occlusive has sunk in, or at least in this case sunk in as far as it's going to go, I always think it's important to apply a sunscreen. Yes, even in the winter I do apply SPF 50 because I'm not trying to get skin cancer. Normally I use Korean sunscreens, but because of the tariffs, they've gotten really, really expensive. So I've actually switched over to using this sunscreen, which is the Black Girl Sunscreen for Kids. Make sure to get the one for kids because it's a little bit less greasy. It's the moisturizing sunscreen lotion and you can use it on your face and body. It's a chemical sunscreen and it's water resistant. Personally, I much prefer a chemical sunscreen to a physical or mineral sunscreen just because you don't get a white cast and it sinks in easier. I love this sunscreen. The smell of it is a little funky, but it sits really nicely under makeup and it's also water resistant and doesn't leave a cast, so I'm a fan. If you have very oily skin, I might skip the moisturizer when you use this product, but for me, a dry skin girly, I do usually layer a moisturizer underneath this. But yeah, you can see it gives you a little bit of a glow without being too shiny or greasy. And it's just a really comfortable sunscreen for dry skin people. I don't really have a lot of good recommendations for under makeup sunscreens for oily skin. Probably the best one that I've personally tried that I think somebody with oily skin would like is the St. Jane Beauty sunscreen primer, but that one is only SPF 30. But that one does have kind of that matte velvety finish if that's something you prefer. But yeah, so far I've been really liking this. It's quite affordable too. I believe this big tube from Amazon is like under $20, so that's pretty good. And again, you can use it on your face and your body. For me, with like sunscreens that I can use on my body, it really matters to me that they don't have a cast and that they don't get greasy. This one gets a little oily because it is a chemical sunscreen. It does have avobenzone in it, but honestly, the fact that it doesn't leave a cast like a lot of those expensive like La Roche-Posay and stuff, that matters a lot to me. I don't really want to shout out this lip balm because I don't really like it all that much, but this is just one that I'm trying to use up. It's Smith's. Not a fan of this lip balm, but I do always put on lip balm before I do my makeup. It's really oily. It's the strawberry flavor. It smells like artificial strawberries. It's not very like glossy and it doesn't really sink in that well. But yeah, put on lip balm before you put on your makeup, because I always do. And it's nice if you do have like those drier lips. A lip balm that I actually would recommend, the Topicals clear one, that one's really, really good. I would recommend that one if you want a lip balm recommendation for me. Anyway, after doing my skin prep, which again, like this should just be stuff that you normally use in your skincare routine, I do like to let all of this kind of sit on my face. So I usually go and do something else for about 10 minutes, because if you're noticing that when you apply sunscreen and skincare, it has a tendency to pill as soon as you put on your makeup, you're probably not giving it enough time to sit. So I would let it sit for about 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how much time you have. I'm probably gonna let it sit. I'm a bit impatient. I usually let it sit for about 10, but by that point, it's usually completely absorbed and I can continue with the rest of my skincare routine. So I will see you in a second. Okay, I'm back. So I've let all of these products kind of marinate on my face for a bit. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get my towel and use it to wipe off the excess of that crappy lip balm. Because it was getting really oily on my lips and I was kind of getting the but yeah, so now I'm going to start by putting down a base lip color. If you know me in real life, my favorite lip color of all time is red. I have probably 30 to 40 red lipsticks. I keep getting them, and to me they are all different shades of red. I know to the normal average person they would not be, but to me they are all different. However, I found with red lipsticks, once they start to wear off, you really notice the lip color underneath, and I can't stand that. So I always wear a stain, or actually multiple stains under my red lips. People ask me, how do they last all day? It's because of this. You can do this with any lip color, by the way. It doesn't have to be red, but I love red, so we're gonna do red today. By the way, this stain is the NYX Lip IV Hydrating Gloss Serum in the shade Water Bout Wine. This is actually from my mother. My mom is much deeper than me, so this color is not as dramatic on her as it is on me. On me, this is a really deep red, but on her, this is like a little bit more of like a muted, almost a berry shade. She loves this color. She has like 2 of them, and she gave me this one because I traded her a one that was actually too dark for me called Great Gushin. That one is a purple. It's really pretty, but I think it would be prettier on her, or basically anyone with a much deeper skin tone. You can see I'm applying it sort of like a liner and then filling in my lips. And it's okay if it's a little bit rough when you're applying it in this way, because we're gonna end up wiping off the color afterwards. So yeah, don't worry. It's okay if it looks like a little insane right now. Okay, let's get started. I'm also going to do my eyebrows. Eyebrows are kind of very personal. I don't really have a lot of good tips for eyebrows because these are all natural. So I'm half Indian, which means I am very, very hairy, and I'm blessed with very naturally full eyebrows. So honestly speaking, I don't do a whole lot to them. However, if you are somebody who likes to fill in your brows, you might want to lay them down first with a gel like this, and then you can go in with like a brow pencil or a brow pen once the gel dries fully. But yeah, I love a clear. I love a clear just because they are a little bit crazy, but I don't really do much in terms of shaping them or filling them in at all. I'm gonna do actually one other thing to fill them in, but I always start with a clear. This is the Dior Show Onset Brow. I would not really recommend this. It's very expensive. That's the other thing, you get the stain on your teeth, so you do have to watch for that. I would not really recommend the Dior Show gel. I used to work at a makeup store where we sold a lot of Dior, and we would sometimes get stuff for free, and this was something I got before I left. It's fine. It doesn't leave like white flakies in my brows, which as somebody with dark brows I do look for, but the price tag, I simply cannot justify paying this much money for an eyebrow gel. So yeah. Next, I'm gonna start with my eyes. I'm not the best at eye makeup, so bear with me. I'm going to try to impart to you wisdom. Perhaps you also are not good at eye makeup. If so, we can struggle together, I guess. This is a gold eyeliner. It's from Fenty Beauty. I love Fenty. I think they have a really good understanding. That team really understands colors really well. So I like to line this waterline part, this bottom waterline part of my eye with this gold eyeliner. I actually was inspired by, of all people, do you guys remember Alex Earle? So she, I think when her like makeup style was trending, people were saying, you know, I watched the video where she puts the white in her waterline. I remember thinking it was a really cool idea, but it probably wouldn't work on me because I do not have Alex Earle's coloring. I tried a champagne once, but it was also just really stark because my eyes are so dark. But gold I found is a really good alternative. So if you have dark brown eyes, I would highly recommend a gold or like even a bronze. I do not think this eyeliner is a great formula. I love this color. It's this sort of yellowy gold, but I don't really like this formula. I am not 100% sure this is supposed to go in your waterline, but YOLO. Honestly, I don't wear eye makeup a whole lot because it's something that I'm not great at yet. So I figure it's probably gonna be okay because it's not like I'm wearing it tomorrow. Yeah, I'm just kind of scribbling this roughly on the waterline area. The other thing I don't like about this eyeliner is that it's like one of those retractable ones where you can twist it up, but you can't twist it back down. Why? They're so annoying. Now I'm going to do the top part of my eye using this is actually one from Sephora collection. It's just a waterproof black pencil. I was inspired to do kind of this tight lining thing because in India, this is like the predominant look. People aren't really into face makeup as much because it's so hot. But honestly, like I'm kind of obsessed with like that street style, like just kajal and a bare face and then like a bold lip. I think it's really chic and really pretty. So yeah, I always line the top part of my eyes with black in order just to make them a little bit bigger. And then I draw out this part a little bit farther and then pull it out like that. And you can see this eyeliner, for being waterproof, is a little smudgy, but that's kind of nice for this because you get a little bit of playtime to elongate your eyes and make them a little bit more sharp, which is nice. I'm not really a winged eyeliner girl. I just simply do not have the coordination for it. So if you're looking for a winged eyeliner tutorial, I would not watch this. It's not really my thing, but I do like this kind of like bigger eye thing. I don't know, I feel like I look very different in a good way. Now I'm going to remove the excess of that red stain, and you can see. I highly recommend, if you are somebody who wears makeup, getting some of these inexpensive towels. You can use them for removing makeup, you can use them for touching up. I just really, really like them. You can see the stain it leaves behind is actually pretty natural, so you could wear it like this, but I'm not really one for naturals, so we are going to be adding another layer of color on top. So stay tuned. Now we're going to transition into doing the rest of my eyes. I forgot. First, we're gonna kind of even out the skin tone just a wee bit. My hot tip, my hot take for evening out your skin tone with foundation without making it look heavy or cakey is getting a foundation or concealer stick and only applying it on the areas you want extra coverage first. So you can see I have this larger blemish here, I have a scar right here, and honestly, a little bit of discoloration there as well. And you're just gonna swipe that stick on. By the way, this stick is my absolute favorite. It is the Makeup Forever HD stick. My shade is the shade Y325. This is one of the best color matches I've ever had. It's really good. And it's really smooth. It's also fairly full coverage. Unfortunately, I do think that this is getting discontinued. Also, the shade range is genuinely terrible, but if you can find your color, do buy it now because I'm pretty sure it's going away forever. But there are a ton of like cream and stick foundations and concealers. You can apply like one of those pot concealers, something like that. I just really like applying this underneath makeup and letting it set. And then in order to let it set, we're actually going to spray it down with a little bit of setting spray. This one is from Milani. Most setting sprays do kind of the same thing. So I don't really think there's a huge difference between drugstore and high-end. I'm liking this one so far. It actually kind of reminds me a bit of that Charlotte Tilbury one. And I like a more hydrating setting spray for in between layers of your makeup. Those like super aerosolized ones I wouldn't use for like this base layer of setting. Now we're gonna do a very simple, very easy eye look. The first step for me is gonna be concealer. Right now I'm using this one from Too Faced. It's the Born This Way concealer in the shade Nude. So for this step, you're gonna want a concealer that's a little bit lighter or close to your skin tone, because we are going to use this as sort of a base for eyeshadow. I'm just actually gonna cover my entire lid with that concealer. By the way, I think this concealer is supremely overrated. I would not really recommend it. I bought this because this girl I used to work with who had absolutely flawless makeup swore by it. And I don't know, maybe she had like the perfect shade that worked well for her. Evidently she did, because her makeup always looked great. She said it was because of this, but for me, not a huge fan. The undertones on this are super weird. Like I have a fairly warm undertone, and I actually am a rosy undertone in this because the warm undertones are just so orangey yellow. Yeah, so I would not really recommend this. You do get a lot per like tube, so you do get a lot for the price, and it is fuller coverage, but I don't know, the difficulties I've had with shade matching this make it something that I just wouldn't recommend to most people. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of tap this in with my fingers, creating this like base for all the eyeshadow. And this is going to make eyeshadow kind of stand out and pop a little bit more. A trick I've found to help make sure that concealer really sits well is to take a little bit of your loose powder of choice. This is Huda Beauty Easy Bake on a powder puff. A little bit, always dab off the powder puff excess on your hand. This is going to make sure it spreads a little bit more evenly over the puff. And you're just gonna kind of press that in right on top of your lid to create a smooth base for the eyeshadow. This is really good because it'll really help that eyeshadow stick. Loose powder, by the way, one of the greatest inventions. Whoever came up with this, I just like to give you like a little kiss on the forehead because this is so good. Now that my eyeshadow base is mostly down, I'm going to go in with an actual eyeshadow. This one is from Amicole. It's in the shade Harlem. Amicole, I think, is also going out of business, which is a shame. They had some really good products. I'm kind of inspired by like cut creases a bit. I don't have the skill to do a cut crease, so what I do is I concentrate this darker, almost neutrally pinky brown on the outside part of my eye, and it's gonna create that gradient sort of look without me actually having to work hard and learn how to do anything like a cut crease. Do you guys remember like beauty YouTube back in the day? Because I do. People used to be so good at eyeshadow. I kind of miss it, honestly. I just, like, me personally, I've never really been that good at it. It takes a lot of coordination that honestly I just don't really have. But I always like experimenting and trying new things, and this eye look has actually gotten me like a lot of compliments in my personal life, so must be doing something right. Then, in order to really intensify the drama that we're creating here with that darker shade, I'm actually going to take a little bit of an eyeshadow primer. This one is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This was recommended to me by an actual makeup artist, so it must be good. Honestly, this is probably expired. I've had this little tube for like 2 years, but no regrets. It's worked super well. It's a very bright white, and this is really good if you have glitter and stuff. It'll really help it stick, which is just as well because we are going to be using a more metallic shimmer. And I'm just going to take that, concentrate it on my inner corner, and not blending it over here because we don't want it to cover the eyeshadow base to cover up the work we've done with the brown. You can see this is creating a little bit more dimension, and everything just lays so much nicer when you put down that concealer and loose powder. I found, like, it's so much better. I don't know what I was doing with eyeshadow before. I used to always be like, oh, I don't know why eyeshadow always creases on me. That was why. Now I'm going to take a little bit of eyeshadow. This is the Bobbi Brown eyeshadow stick in Golden Bronze. This might be my favorite eyeshadow of all time. It's kind of this cool toned, like grayish brown with a little shimmer in it. And this is genuinely a beautiful color. Plus this formula is so smooth. Like, you can actually wear this on its own. Whenever people at my store used to ask for like one and done eyeshadow, Bobbi Brown, these eyeshadow sticks were always what I led people to. Yeah, they are a bit expensive, but honestly, you'll have them forever, and the result is really nice. This kind of creates this like smoky look that I really like, and it looks like I did a lot of work and like maybe layered multiple eyeshadows, but I didn't. It's just this one. This isn't the most shimmery shimmer, I will say that, so if you are somebody who likes more of that dramatic shimmer, maybe don't get this. This is a new product that I have been testing for my inner quarter. It is the Maybelline Color Tattoo Eye Stick in the shade I Am Rare. It's kind of supposed to be like a gold, and I love like a chunky inner corner highlight. Like, that's my favorite. I don't care if this becomes an outdated thing. This is one of my favorite ways to make my inner corners pop. And I don't care if it's unblended or anything. I will say this eyeshadow stick was advertised as being like something that you could use as like a liner, something that you could, and like being really pigmented. I saw people comparing it to like Hourglass and stuff, and it is really underwhelming. Like, this shimmer is just not shimmering. I've even tried using it to intensify that gold on my waterline and just give us nothing. So save your money. I would actually buy high-end, something like the Bobbi Brown, before I bought this again. Like, there's barely any shimmer in my inner corner. All in all though, I think that looks pretty good. So now that all of my eyes are down, I'm gonna take the same towel. Again, you can get these in like a pack from Target, and they're so useful. And I'm gonna just clean up the eyeshadow that has migrated, and eyeliner that's migrated under my eye. This is nice because it means I'm gonna get like less creasing when I do concealer later on. And then after you've let that sit, you're gonna wanna blend out where you put that concealer or foundation. I just tap it in with my fingers. The trick to blending with your fingers like concealer or foundation is to always kind of go around the spot. You don't want to swipe because you're going to disrupt the coverage. And you can see when I cover up a spot with my foundation or concealer, it's not like getting rid of the texture. You can still very clearly see that I have like a raised indentation where the spot was. It's just gonna eliminate some of the color that was created by that spot. And I think if you have like a lot of times when people are looking for things to cover up acne or hyperpigmentation, they're just kind of thrown off by the fact that it doesn't look like a filter because we're so used to seeing these heavily edited and filtered images online. And so it's easy to get discouraged when you're covering up things with makeup because it doesn't look as airbrushed as a model or an influencer would do it. But yeah, this is about like the amount of coverage I think that you can expect. And also when you put like secondary layers and when you like set it with powder, you can also do a lot to minimize the impact of the spot, but the texture isn't going to go away completely no matter what you do. Okay, one thing about me, I love a liquid highlight. I love glow. So lately, I've been reaching for this one in particular. It is the iconic London Illuminator. This is like very 2016, like blinding liquid highlight. So this is definitely not something that's for everybody, but I've been doing this lately and I just love it. So I just put like a little dot of the highlighter on my skin, and then I'm just gonna start tapping it in. And it's okay if it looks insane because we're actually going to wear this underneath makeup. I found this is the nicest way to apply this product. When I put this on top of cream products, it's so shiny and so glowy that it actually kind of ruins the effect. You'll notice that I have it really high up on my cheekbone and I'm blending it kind of close to my under eye area. That is by design. I actually really like a highlight on my under eye area. I think this does a lot to conceal my dark circles, which are actually something that I used to be more insecure about, but now I would say that I kind of think dark circles are chic and interesting. But yeah, you can see this is very reflective and like very glowy. Definitely not for everyone. If you want one that's a little bit more subtle and natural, the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light Wand is also a very nice option for the same kind of radiant glow, but it's a little bit more targeted, so you're not gonna have quite an intense, like, blinding one. Oh, by the way, I use the original shade. I think they have a darker one as well, but I like this one. I'm also going to apply a second layer of lip stain because I'm insane. We really want the lip to last all day. This is the Fenty Beauty Strawberry Sangria lip stain. This is a brighter red. This is more up my alley in terms of a red. I told y'all I like red. And this is seriously one of the most industrial strength lip stains. This one and the Etude House, like their dupe for Benetton, truly last all day. Like, it's hard to get this off at the end of the day, even with makeup remover, but that's what I like. Like, I love this kind of intense red stain. They also have some more subtle and like more natural colors as well, if you're more into that. Over top of the highlight, if my skin is like having an especially bad day, I will use this Airborean CC Red Correct, but my skin's been doing okay. Mine is our little friend here lately, so I actually haven't been reaching for this as much as I sometimes do. This is really good though if you do deal with redness and you're around my complexion and fairer. This works really well. I will say, if you are deeper than me, this brand it's a Korean brand and the shades are awful. But if you're around my coloring, you can get away with this, but I'm like about the darkest person that could probably get away with this kind of color. But since I'm not really dealing with any redness right now, I'm actually gonna go straight into foundation. But I thought you already did foundation. I actually go in with a second layer of foundation because, as we've established, I'm not into natural. I do want to look like I have makeup on. So I'm gonna start with this foundation. This is, I think, another one of the best color matches I've ever had. It's from NARS. It's the Light Reflecting Foundation in the shade M2 Santa Fe. Really like this foundation too. Like, it's, I would say, a medium coverage, but you can definitely build it. The only thing I don't like is this pump. This is like quite an expensive foundation, so you would think the pump would be a little bit better, but it leaks and it like gets stuck really easily. I am going to literally take that much. Like, that is all that I am going to put on. And then I'm going to mix in the magic. This is one of my favorite makeup products. It is the Lakme Lumi Cream in the shade Golden Glaze. So this is actually an Indian makeup product. My mom brings this back from India when she goes because I love it so much. There's not really anything. I would say the closest thing you can find to this in the States would be like MAC Strobe Cream, maybe. It has a little bit of a fragrance to it, but, or maybe L'Oreal Lumi Lotion, but it's like not obtrusive, and it's just such a nice texture. I love mixing this in with my foundations. It's very glowy without being like glittery. Lakme is kind of like an Indian, like a L'Oreal. I think it has a bit of a reputation for being like a brand that like older people use, but if you are from India, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty Western, so I'm not super up on Indian makeup trends, but this is a cream that I absolutely love. If you are in India and have access to it, go to like a Spencer's, or like, I don't know if they have it in like Nykaa or whatever, or Sephora in India, and see if you can get your hands on this, because it really is a lovely product. I get so many compliments on my skin when I use this, and I use the golden shade. There is a pink shade that I have tried too, which I liked, but that one did make me look a little bit pastier than I tend to go for, so I prefer this one because I do think it's just a little bit of radiance. And you can see, like, it's very like not glittery. You can still see that highlight underneath. And you'll notice with foundation, I just kind of blended in like a moisturizer. Some people don't like to do their foundation like this, which is fine, by the way, if you are a like sponge or a brush girl, but I just think I get the best ratio of coverage when I do it in this way. Also, pro tip, if you find foundation when you do this, breaks up around your mouth, pretend your finger is a beauty blender and just dab. Now I'm going to remove the excess of that lip stain. You can see this one like stains. It's not like the next one. This one really leaves behind a tint. And everyone's kind of obsessed with that like Nina Park lip tutorial. Is this giving? Or is this too red? Am I delusional? I don't know. Sometimes my foundation has the tendency to wash out my eyebrows. And if that's the case, there's probably a better way to do this, but I'm just gonna take my towel. I wash these, by the way. I don't want you to think that I'm like somebody who is just like taking some like grimy towel that I have in my bathroom. When I do my makeup, I use a different one of these every day. I have a bunch of them. And just kind of wipe it. You can also use a Q-tip. This is better for the environment, so, you know. I'm gonna put a little bit of tint in my eyebrows. I definitely don't do this every day, but if I just want a little bit more of a dramatic look, I think this one is from Tarte. It's in the black brown shade. I'm just gonna put a little bit, kind of where my eyebrows are the darkest, which might not make sense. I acknowledge that, but doesn't that kind of, I feel like it kind of does something. Like it kind of makes everything kind of flow together a little bit more harmoniously than if I just like left it alone. I don't know. I feel like I see a difference, but I might be crazy. Now we're gonna go in with a little bit of blush. Blush is really having a moment. When I was like, I think in high school and stuff, I don't think anyone ever talked about blush. This one is from ColourPop. It's a red, but don't be intimidated. It's actually very natural. I have a pretty round face, so I wear blush a little bit lower. There's this really cool makeup artist from Australia. Her name is Bronte Marie. And she said if you have a rounder face, it's nicer to wear your blush a little bit lower and drag it down, because if you have a round face, it'll make your cheeks look fuller. I've also noticed when I apply my blush in this way, my face, which normally will eat blush, like I put it on and it's gone, the blush actually stays put. Even a cream blush such as this one. I think this is from a discontinued ColourPop collection, otherwise I totally would have told you where it's from. I promise I'm not gatekeeping. I really do like this. I hope they bring it back or something. But yeah, I just kind of swipe it on. You can also apply this by taking a little bit on a finger and tapping it in if you're worried about it breaking up your makeup, but I've never personally had an issue with this particular stick breaking up my makeup. I do actually think ColourPop makes this stick, like this particular formula. I just don't know if this color is something that people have access to. And yeah, I would say that I have a moderate amount of blush blindness. I wouldn't say my blush blindness is on the extreme end of the scale, but I definitely do like to look a little bit more blushy. And red is such a nice color in the winter because I think it really does mimic that natural flush. You can also use a hot pink to get this effect, especially if you're fairer, you might prefer that. I also, because one blush is never enough, I also like to kind of connect my blush into my highlighter by using kind of a glowy blush, so a blush with some shimmer in it. Lately, I've been using the Huda Beauty blush in Sunset Lychee. This has a little bit of shimmer in it. This is the tiniest bit patchy, if I do have a complaint. These are very popular, and I thought I was really gonna like them, but they are like a little bit patchy. I blend this up towards my cheekbones to where I put that Iconic London illuminator, and you can see kind of ties this into that. Brings them together, which again, I don't necessarily need my makeup to make me look like snatched or anything, but I do like to look a little bit more awake, perhaps. I think that's a healthier way of saying it. Now we're gonna do my under eyes, which again used to be my biggest insecurity. Not so much anymore. As you get older, you find more things to be insecure about. This is a color corrector stick. It's from Fenty Beauty again. I really like it. Surprise, surprise. I think this is discontinued again. I feel like I'm just sharing with you a lot of, this is like what I actually use, I promise. Like I truly do use these products. But they do make a version of this in a tube that you can use, but this stick formula is gone. Honestly, like I like this color a lot. I'm just not the biggest fan of this stick formula. Ooh, a trick I've discovered with color correcting, I only apply a corrector where my dark circles are the darkest. So for me, that's gonna be right in this inner corner here. Like the darkness is not as noticeable on this outer area. Because if you find when you put on color corrector, you have to put like a ton of concealer to like cover up the corrector. It might be because you're putting the corrector in like a weird place, which I definitely was. So that's a tip from me to you on that. Now for concealer, honestly, a lot of days I just wear corrector. So I'm gonna go in with that Too Faced concealer again. I don't like a super bright under eye. I like one that's kind of close to my natural skin tone. And because this is a fuller coverage concealer, I'm actually gonna place it a little bit lower. In the winter, I also can get a little bit dry. So I sometimes put a little bit of cream concealer on my chin, a little bit on my, almost like a highlight. And I'm gonna let that sit for a second, let it build up some of the coverage. I would say a concealer I actually would recommend for your under eye area is the House Labs one. That one is a little bit less heavy duty than this one, which I actually prefer for my under eye area. I'm 25, so I don't really have like a ton of lines yet, but I've always had these under my eyes, so concealer has always like creased right there. I can only imagine if you have more fine lines that it must be worse. And the thickness of this particular concealer, I think, and my skin just don't really get along. Now I'm going to start blending, and I just kind of tap it. I try to tap it in the same place because I want the coverage to stay where I have placed the concealer. I don't want to disperse it too much. You can see this concealer is kind of a weird shade. Like, they call this a rosy shade, and it's very clearly yellow, which works for me as a more yellow person. But like, why is it so yellow? I don't know, and this concealer comes so highly recommended. So many people love this. I don't get it. I like concealer, by the way, here, just because foundation tends to break up around my nose. Because again, as we've established, that is one of the drier parts of my face. And that very last step is gonna be blending that concealer under my eyes. Because, why? Because we wanna minimize the amount of creasing we get under the eyes. To be clear, I don't think there is a concealer that exists on this planet that is gonna be something that you can advertise as 100% creaseless. Anyone who tells you a concealer is 100% creaseless is definitely trying to sell you something, but you can minimize creasing with with more careful application of your makeup, for sure. You can make creasing less noticeable. And the big one for me, the game changer for me when it came to creasing, was actually this guy, setting powder. As a dry-skinned person, I always thought that powder was kind of like the enemy. Like, I thought powder was something that you only used if you were oily, but it actually does a lot for calming down some of that creasing. Because I am going to like smile and my eyes are going to crinkle. Like, that's just a part of life. But just taking a little bit of powder, of course dabbing the excess off on the back of your hand, and just setting that area. You'll notice I'm not setting here. And the reason I'm not doing that is because I want to maintain some of the glow that we get from some of the other products. But I do like to set the center of my face because I like it to be a little bit more matte. But I still want to have the glow that we got from that highlighter and some of the radiance that we have from the blush and all that. So it's gonna be the solution to that. You can see I'm now looking very matte. My under eyes are looking fairly smooth. Again, you can still see I do have some lines, but okay, now I'm going to do my signature red lip combo. And I'm gonna start by lining my lips with the Kosas Hot Liner in the shade Extra, which is kind of a warmer red color. And can't really talk when I do this, I have to really concentrate. But yeah, I don't really overline my lips because they are quite full already. Yeah. A beautiful woman I met one time taught me this trick. So in the center of my lips, after I've lined them, it's great to put something a little glittery. This is a discontinued Sephora lipstick in the shade 71, I think. It's this like gold, sparkly satin formula. And yes, it does look insane now, but trust me, this is gonna even out to something wonderful. I have two red lipstick options. I have the classic MAC Ruby Woo, and I also have the NYX Lingerie. I think I'm gonna actually do this one because I remembered this is actually my most complimented red. It's described as a brick red on the website. It is the NYX Lip Lingerie in the shade Untamable. On me, because I am so warm, this does almost seem like a bit of a cooler blue or red, which is kind of weird because it is described like as a brick. But it's really, really nice, and it lasts for a long time, and it's not that expensive either. But yeah, if you're like around my coloring and you want like a really bold, like bright burgundy kind of red, get this, you'll like it. It has a bit of a coconutty scent, and I'm just gonna fill in my lips with that color. You can see it's like a really nice color. Many people hate matte liquid lipsticks because they're drying, and I agree, they are not dry, they are not very comfortable to wear, but beauty is pain. And I love this shade. I think it's so pretty. It makes my teeth look really white too. Yeah, I like to wait for it to dry all the way. And also, if you get lipstick on your teeth, doing that, hopefully that didn't look like something else. Please don't censor me. I promise I'm 25 and I'm allowed to talk about these things. Having lipstick on my teeth is often the price I pay for being hot. But if you're trying to avoid that and minimize the amount of transfer, this won't eliminate it completely. I recommend taking a brush. This is actually a brush on the back of an Anastasia blush stick. Taking a little bit of loose powder. You can use a lip brush if you have one of those. I don't, so I use this. Making sure it's evenly coated, and then pressing it into your lips like so. This will create a powdery kind of film on your lips. It is admittedly not the most comfortable, but it will minimize transfer and teeth transfer if that's what you're looking for. Which honestly is what I'm always looking for, because I having people tell you over and over again you have lipstick on your teeth when you like these really bright, noticeable colors. Worst feeling. Worst feeling. Okay, now you can see we're well set and ready to go. I'm gonna lock this in with some setting spray. It's the same one I used earlier. I do like these hydrating ones. If you have very oily skin, you might want to opt for like a fixing type spray, so something with a higher alcohol content or something that's mattifying. But I like this for the end of my makeup, especially in the winter when it's a bit drier and I'm dealing with that peeling on my chin. Amazing, we'll be locked in. And finally, for our finishing touch, I'm gonna put on a little gloss. This is Dior. It's the Addict one. I actually really like this. It's got a little bit more color than those lip oils. A trick I found, if when you put gloss over lipstick it transfers to your teeth, I would concentrate it in the center of your lips instead of putting it all over. And you'll notice when I do that, the shimmer is brought out quite a lot more. So you can really see the shimmer in the lips. It's a little subtle, but I do think it adds like a little something. And that's it for the look. This is me in more natural lighting. Hopefully this was helpful / you enjoyed it. I want to make more videos this year about different things. As much as I like making videos about pens, I do enjoy making these sorts of videos as well. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something, anything. Yeah, I don't really know how to end this, but thank you for watching. Bye.